The preseason is over. We wrap up Nuggets preseason with what was a terrific effort from the bench unit, showing a lot of promise until what Ryan described as a, quote, heinous ending cost them a win versus the Thunder. We'll give you what you really need to take away from this last preseason game on Locked On Nuggets.
You are Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for being an everyday or hanging out with us Monday through Friday and joining us here in our community, whether you're joining us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We appreciate the 5-star reviews. Let us know what you think about this Nuggets season. Or if you're watching at youtube.com/LockedOnNuggets, joining the thousands of subscribers we have over there. We're glad to have you guys as part of our community. Today's show is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. My name's Matt Moore. I'm the senior NBA writer for the Action Network. I've been covering the Denver Nuggets this will be my 14th season covering the Nuggets. You can catch me at the Denver Dig. I'll have an interview this weekend up with Ryan Bowen, who's the new coach of the G League team, the Grand Rapids Gold, as well as an interview with Darrell Arthur, the new special development assistant for the Denver Nuggets. He's been with the organization for some time. Caught up with Darrell in San Diego about kind of his decision to go into player development in his career. So be on the lookout for that. His name's Ryan Blackburn. He's over at Mile High Sports. You can catch him on the despicable, deplorable, disgusting Pickaxe and Roll podcast. If you have a bad segment, I'm going to come in there and just be like, wretched.
Oh man,
embarrassing.
You'll be in there every day. You'll be in there every show. It's always nice. Hey, it's always one quarter for me. It's just one quarter where things fall apart.
Nuggets get the loss 94-91 versus the Thunder in the game where they sat Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, Aaron Gordon, and Christian Brown. Rapid fire. Were you surprised that Cam played? Because I was.
I was surprised. In retrospect, no. I was surprised that it was not more than just the top 4 starters there. Cam, I can understand wanting to get some chemistry with guys. And then clearly they're doing the same thing with Valanciunas, Tim Hardaway Jr., Bruce Brown, all the bench veterans trying to get extensive time with those guys. And let's say, hey, like we know what those other 4 guys are going to do. What are you guys going to look like? And as it turns out, Matt, they looked pretty good over the course of that entire game.
What was your biggest takeaway from this game?
Biggest one is that Peyton Watson just continues to look like he is an elevated player. He is somebody who shockingly was not a finished product when he came into the NBA, having scored 3 points per game in college for one season and not really getting a lot of opportunities there. And shockingly, it took him a little bit of time to continue to develop those skills. And the Nuggets, I think, are going to reap the rewards of that this year for sticking with him, for giving him an opportunity to shine and giving him an opportunity to make mistakes, because now he just looks like a better player. He's handling the basketball really well, hit a pull-up 3. It's just a really versatile player that I think deserves a lot of credit for rounding out his game.
Yeah, it's interesting because you talk about him as an elevated. To me, it's like he's more. I was thinking that when I was watching that he's more complete. Like he's just his handle, his moves, his control. He did a lot of things tonight. 15, 6'4", 1 steal, 1 block, 6 turnovers, which is fine because I think if you're giving him that much ball handling responsibility against the OKC Thunder, that's what you're going to do. And like it's just good to get those reps. But like had the putback dunk, had tough finishes, had the pull up 3, which Swipa was very excited about. He like missed on that shot earlier. He was 1 of 3 from 3-point range, but knocked down 1. But
did you notice that Cam was pretty excited about all of the developmental things that Swipa that Peyton's doing? It's I didn't actually notice that on the timeline tonight.
Really good game for Peyton. I thought an excellent game. And again, like he looks more complete, and like that will help with adding more guys around him. The other, I think, kind of takeaway we have to get to is Tim Hardaway Jr., who, not 4 of 6 from 3, 13 points, a pull-up 3 in transition that was just smooth as butter and cold as ice. It was just like really good shooting for him. And like, this is kind of the thing is I think veterans take their time and they work on process and execution. And even in the regular season, I do try to remember this, where it's like, because we have 82 games, we forget all these like little games in between where good players or fine players have really bad nights. We just don't remember them if they turn out positive on average. If they're especially terrible, biases against them, then we're going to remember all of their turnovers and all of their missed layups and
who could we be talking about here?
Things for certain people. So like we just tend to forget those things. And like Tim Hardaway Jr. will have nights like he had the first couple of preseason games, but he'll also have nights like tonight, and that's why you brought him in. And he just played very sharp. I have some takes about this game that I want to kind of keep for the second segment, because it's like I have a very strong takeaway about this game that has nothing to do with Peyton and it doesn't have anything to do with Tim. And it's about some of the other guys, which and actually somebody that's being talked about in the comments, I actually don't think is getting enough. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I don't think that player's getting enough credit. We'll talk about that in just a minute. I love the way Bruce Brown played tonight too.
Really?
Yeah. So
it was okay.
So the key is go back and watch how many actions he beat the initial defender and made the kick out read. So pre-game or post-game the other night, I asked Adelman about the 3-point rate and some of those kind of things. And one of the things that he's talked about is guys haven't had enough of an opportunity to work on the mechanisms of getting into the paint and then spraying to the outside. And you saw a ton of that tonight. 45 3-point attempts for the Denver Nuggets tonight. 53 for OKC because they have their own formula. But 45 is a really good number. It doesn't really matter that they made 17. I mean, 38% is a totally acceptable number. It was 17-15 Nuggets for 3-pointers tonight. And that second unit, I thought, had really great tempo of the defensive pressure, push. You don't have to force it to the rim. Just push to get their mismatches a little bit off, or to be able to drive and then kick and then get those guys one step out of their rotation. And Bruce got past Caruso, I counted 4 different times, which resulted in spray out. They didn't always lead to shots, but it helped the offense move. And like, those are the type of things that I want to see. I thought they moved the ball incredibly well, despite not having Nikola or Jamal tonight.
The other thing is that they only had 6 turnovers tonight, or in the first half. They finished with 13 on the game, and it got a little bit more sloppy at the end, especially once you start to get into third and fourth stringers. But I do think that Bruce absolutely contributes to that. His finishing through traffic, the consistently going to the floater, it's going to be something that bothers me throughout the regular season. I just know, until he starts to hit it with regularity in the playoffs, because shockingly, he got a whole bunch of reps doing it during the regular season. Kind of like what happened in 2023. But he only had 1 turnover himself tonight, was a +2. And going up against guys like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Alex Caruso, Lou Dort, going up against the 2 towers look of Chet Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein, like, this is a really tough defense to navigate against. And the fact that he was able to initiate and generate advantages on a consistent basis absolutely deserves a ton of credit.
Coming up, I'm going to tell you who really impressed me tonight, and it's none of the guys that we've talked about so far, and why the real hero of this game, and maybe the most promising sign, points to David Adelman. That's coming up on Locked On Nuggets. The holidays are going to be here before you know it, which is exciting, but getting your home ready for guests and celebrations can feel like a lot. Maybe your serverware needs a refresh or the guest room could use new bedding. Wayfair has everything you need to get your home holiday ready. From Christmas trees and wreaths to bedding, cookware, and outdoor inflatables, it's your one-stop shop for every room in the house. Wayfair makes it easy to personalize your home for the holidays with a huge selection for every style and budget. And with free and easy delivery, even on the big stuff, you can get everything you need without the hassle of huge delivery fees. Delivery's fast and free, which was a lifesaver during a busy time of the year. And now instead of stressing about getting the house ready, you can actually enjoy the holidays with friends and family. Get organized, refreshed, and ready for the holidays for way less. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair. Every style, every home. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets. Back here on Locked On Nuggets. Thanks for joining us and making us part of your day. Appreciate you guys being with us. Before we get to the guys that I think really stood out, which are like very me takes, I want to talk about Jalen Pickett. 12 points, 4 dimes for Pickett, 1 steal, 1 block. Really active, chasing Shai Gilgeous-Alexander over screen. Thought he did a really good job in those sequences. Like the way he moved the ball. All the stuff that Adam Morris loves about him was on display tonight. It was a really good game from Jalen Pickett.
He deserves a ton of credit too. I thought defensively he really was in the right place every single time. He got a nice little block kind of where you strip steal the guy in the post. I think it was Isaiah Hartenstein just put his hand right on the ball. And he does this thing where he understands and reads the defensive scheme and got to a place where he just cut off the floppy action that was being whipped all the way around the court and then just jumped the passing lane, and the ball flew right to him with 2 hands. It caught him in the chest because he was so in the right place. Probably a poor read by OKC. I wasn't super impressed with their starters and their overall mix. I'm sure that will change in the coming months. That's going to be just fine.
They barely played in the preseason.
Yeah.
So it wasn't surprising to me that they got caught here.
Yeah, they looked a little bit rusty for sure. And Denver looks like a well-tuned team, honestly. They look like a team that's played a lot of their guys.
Okay, so that's what I want to get to is the biggest thing that I was impressed with tonight was performances from 2 guys. One who I'm very high on and one who I'm often absolutely killing. One of them is Spencer Jones, who had no points in this game. He did not score. The other is Zeke Naji, who had 5 points, and the chat wants to trade into outer space.
I get it, but like he's been great. He was great tonight.
So Zeke had 5 steals. Spencer had 4. This is not just based off of the fact that Zeke was +8 and Spencer was +11. It's based off of the fact that if you go back and watch what OKC wanted to get to, how Denver was defending them, and what the keys in those sequences are. So I talk about this all the time. If you're going to play pick and roll coverage at the level of the screen, you have to stop the ball. You have to find a way to deter that action. You can't just let that ball handler come off of that screen with enough space to split it or hit the pocket pass or reverse the ball to the corner. The whole point is to apply pressure on that ball handler. And man, Zeke Naji and Spencer Jones ruined worlds with it. Go back and watch how many deflections they had off of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander on those sequences. It was Shai, it was Caruso, it was those guys coming off of screens, trying to get to that pass, and those guys getting into the air, getting into the passing lane, and deflecting those passes. Now, some of that is just like Ryan mentioned, is the sloppiness that OKC played with tonight. But that level of activity in executing a game plan was incredibly good to me. This is a preseason game, right? And you're not going to get that from the starter. Starter's going to be like, yeah, sure, we'll execute the game. I'm just getting my cardio in. Like, don't care, right? But the bench guys really played tonight with a sense of purpose and identity, which has been so missing. Now, like, Swipe is ready to be like, the bench is going to be amazing. They're able to go toe-to-toe with OKC. And I'm like, well, slow. But I am so impressed with David Adelman and the coaching staff, Jared Dudley in particular on the defensive side of the ball, for how they have designed schemes and executed these type of game plans. With they are like just tonight. Let's even remove how bad the starters were in game 1 versus the Clippers. Let's just go back to the bench minutes. the execution level in terms of focus and execution of what they wanted to do was so much better tonight than it was in game one. And that's what you want to see. Like, this is real progress. And when I talk about this and you're like, man, I don't really care. Like, these guys aren't going to really play. Why would this matter? Here's why. You will oftentimes notice that bad defensive rosters have good defenses. So Ryan, like Billy Donovan and the Bulls, like routinely have like a good defense. And we're just like, nobody talks about it because they're like, well, the Bulls made the play in and lost. Who cares?
I was impressed with Vooch on the preseason opener, by the way. It was pretty impressive what he was doing.
Like, so if you have a coach that can get through to those guys and you instill a system, you can get past the personnel stuff. And you're seeing that with Adelman. The other thing I want to ask you about, sure. I really tonight paid attention to their off-ball sequences because I get really caught up with like the individual stuff of Jamal and Nicola and how those guys are moving or how teams are guarding them. And without them on the floor, I was able to kind of pay attention to the off-ball stuff. And I kind of realized, I was like, they really have made a lot of changes offensively. Results weren't great tonight because they didn't have their best offensive players. But I thought that they were generating really good actions to get actually open shots, which was not something I felt oftentimes last season if they were not off of cuts or transition.
Again, OKC a little bit sloppy in terms of some of the stuff that they were doing, but it was still high effort what they were putting out there. And they still have such a baseline for defensive competence and activity that you have to be really good when you're going up against them. And what the Nuggets were doing was really good. It was a very impressive game plan. And it's something I think that the Nuggets absolutely need when going up against the toughest teams, whether it's the Clippers or the Thunder or the T-Wolves or whoever. You need to occupy those guys off ball. You need to be doing other things and trying to create other opportunities and force those other guys that are loading the box against Jokic, against Murray, to at least have to look around a little bit, have to move around a little bit, have to process multiple things at the same time before they settle into what they're doing. It is so important. And like, I think about this against the Lakers last year when the Lakers were really trying to get under Denver's skin with the kind of defense that they were playing. Denver had no off-ball movement last year. It just didn't happen. It was not something that, especially when teams were packing the paint, there was just nowhere for them to go. So hopefully this is a really good sign. And this is a sign that the Nuggets are understanding the problem, applying some of their new personnel to said problem, and coming up with solutions that can help occupy that weak side defense.
I have several things I want to get Ryan's opinion on about the end of preseason, about the Sam Amick article, and about the Christian Brown talks. So we're going to hit a lot of that on the way out here on Locked On Nuggets. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Those bonus bets are great to use on futures, so you can get on things like Jokic for MVP, or the Nuggets to win 60 games, or the Nuggets to win the division, even if you really want to get in on that kind of action. Broncos taking on the Giants this weekend. I cannot figure out whether I think this line is too much or not. I usually do like a home court flip, and I'm like, okay, 4.5. So I'm like, the Broncos would be favored by less than 3 on the road versus the Giants. That seems light. But the Broncos are coming back from London, which I think is probably worth like a point just for the travel. So now it's like, it's a half point too heavy. I got to stay away from it. It's really bothersome. Either way, the Broncos are going to win. So throw them in your money line parlays because they're not losing this game. What are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets. Back here on Locked On Nuggets. Thanks for joining us. Final segment here with Ryan Blackburn. Appreciate you guys being with us here on a Saturday. Hope you guys are enjoying it. I'm going to a concert in Fort Collins on Saturday night. It's like my last go do something fun before all my nights are absorbed with breaking down tape and stats. And
is something coming up? Is something happening, Matt?
Something is happening. Okay, Ryan, what do you feel like you learned from the Nuggets in preseason?
I learned that this is a team that is reinvigorated, that this is a team that is taking it seriously, and the Nuggets of this last year, it was night and day in terms of the level of dedication to the process and what they have started to really accomplish over the course of this preseason. You can agree with me on that, right? Like, it's just a different feeling in terms of not just what we're hearing, not just what we're seeing, but also just like how they are going about their business feels like a different beast.
Yeah, I mean, the vibes are entirely different. Aaron said early in camp, they just feel like more of a team this year. And that really just does stand out. What we were watching them when they ran out on the court for warm-ups for like layup line.
Yeah.
On Tuesday, Ryan and I were just like, man, the energy is so much better. And like Joker was laughing and throwing the ball up and doing funny stuff all the time last year in layup lines, but like it does just feel different. The body language feels different. Like their tone when they talk feels different. And I really do think I'm always skeptical of change, right? Like that was a big thing with Malone was I was always like, who are you going to find that's better? And I don't know if David Allen's going to be a better coach than Michael Malone. Michael Malone won him a championship. They went over the win total every year. But I do think that David Adelman has done everything that I would have been like, it'd be good to see. If you're trying to analyze this team and you're like, this is what I want to see. It's like he has preached togetherness and chemistry and staying together and having bonds and being prepared for a long season and big picture views while you see different stuff on court. They feel remodeled, which is the word I've used a lot. They feel reinvigorated. They feel different without disrupting what works. And that's hard to do. So the Nuggets coaching staff gets if the front office got an A for the offseason, Ryan, the coaching staff gets an A for me for preseason for having these guys, I think, in a great space heading into the regular season.
I just like seeing them try things, right? And that's one thing that I've really enjoyed about David Adelman here. I think he knows that he doesn't know everything about this team and is willing to try things in order to figure stuff out. And that to me is the sign of a coach that is understanding of how hard this process is going to be and willing to attack it from an open mind and not necessarily because I do think that one of the issues with Malone was that he was very stuck in what he wanted to do, the belief in that he had in terms of how the Nuggets should do things, rather than catering things to their personnel a little bit better. And part of that is the Malone Booth feud. Part of that is, I think, there's just a belief in certain players and certain styles and how things should work based off of how they've worked in the past. Adelman feels like a guy who is feeling things out, is going to go about his business and ask the help of the coaching staff as much as he can and really try to approach this from the right way from the jump. And I've just really appreciated the way that he's approached this. It, like you said, it may or may not work. He may or may not be successful, but for all intents and purposes, he has started things off fantastically.
Any takeaways from the Sam Amick article over at The Athletic about the whole thing?
The Jokic stuff is always interesting. My major takeaway from the actual writing of the article, first and foremost, there was a blurb that he wrote about in terms of teams trying to have cap space for when Jokic becomes a free agent and they're gearing up for 2027 or whatever it is. I think that part of me thinks that he's just trying to tie back to a previous article that he wrote. And part of me thinks that, yeah, obviously those teams are trying to do that. They're trying to they're gaining as much flexibility as possible and leaving the possibility open. But Jokic also didn't poo-poo the idea of being a Nugget forever. Like that's something that.
So D-Line from DMVR kind of like he was predictably upset because he was like, how is this sidestepping? And the answer is he could be like, he says, I plan to be a Nugget forever. Right. And I said at the time, I was like, plans change. And that's true. If you want to know what gets talked about, and I understand it because you're like, you want to feel like everybody's against you. That's part of being a fan. Like you have a right to do that as a fan, to feel like everybody's against you. Not general you.
It's not just that. It's more about like you're kind of putting words into a player's mouth that he didn't actually say.
No, but I will say this is like here's more of, because I don't think he's put anything in Jokic's mouth. What I do think is that what he's expressing here, and this is the reality, until Joker's name is on the contract, then people around the league are going to be like, well,
I agree with that.
And if you're like, well, who cares what they say? Joker said he wants to be a Nugget forever. And I think so. And I've said I don't think he's leaving because I think moving's a hassle that he doesn't want to deal with. And I expect him to sign the contract next summer. But until he does, it's going to be a thing. It's just going to hang. And that's the reason he didn't, is because it makes more financial sense for him to. It's not that he wants to leave right now. The problem is just like, what if that changes in 10 months?
The funny thing is it doesn't actually make more financial sense for him. Like it makes more sense for him to sign the max contract as soon as possible and then get a player option out of it and then decline that player option and then sign another large ass contract, which is why LeBron has done what he has done over the course of these last few years. It actually makes more sense for him to get the 35% again as soon as possible because the cap is going to outpace how much his contract can grow. So I do understand, like, he should put his name to paper if like you want the actual rumors to go away.
But he doesn't care about them, you know.
Oh, I know that he doesn't care about them.
Yeah. And like they feel good about it. You do the best you can. And if he signs next summer, then all this goes away.
Yeah.
Now look, I'm biased here because like Sam's a friend. Sam's a friend of mine.
He's a good dude.
But at the same time, if you wonder why because I've had the same argument with Bucks fans where it's like, look, if you were being told what you don't want to do is you don't want to go the other way. Because people used to do this a lot where it was like with a star, they would be like, well, he's not leaving. You know, he said he wants to be here forever. He's not leaving. He's not going anywhere. He said he didn't want to leave. And then they would be wrong. And then you look stupid. So until the player actually signs the deal, you take the other approach because it's safer that way. And if you're like, it generates more clicks, I will guarantee you, like, the kind of article that Sam Amick writes that's not what it's built on.
Yeah, I mean, he's trying to track what's actually happening, and like clearly the Warriors and whoever are gearing up for the possibility of it. So We'll see. We'll see what actually happens.
Finally, Christian Brown. Some reports wanting 25. Some reports indicating 25 to 30. You have said 28 is kind of where you come in at as like, this is a reasonable number.
That would be my high point in terms of what I would hope for if I were the Nuggets. Like anything higher than that, and you really start to like look at it sideways as like you just may not have flexibility if you're not willing to go over the second apron.
You're so much better with the money stuff than I am. What is like the meaningful point of difference? Like at what point is it like, oh man, the Nuggets really saved a lot of money here? And what is like, oh man, this is going to cause them problems down the line?
It's a great question. The actual reality of it is that as soon as he signs a contract, it doesn't really matter because anything over 20 million is going to effectively put them up against the second apron no matter what. Like they are going to have questions about it because you look at Cam Johnson's deal, he's got 23 million next year. Assuming beyond that, if you were to extend him too, then he's probably getting upwards of about 25 million as well. So you've got Nikola Jokic making 62 million on a player option in 2027, Actually, let's just go next year. 59 million for Jokic, 50 million for Murray, 32 million for Gordon, 23 million for Cam Johnson. Hypothetically, like there was a scenario that Bobby Marks put out there that if you want to do a 5-year, $125 million escalating contract, so it grows at that point, the lowest annual, like the lowest initial number that you can kind of put with that is about 21.5. So if you put 21.5 million in there for next year, then I'm looking right now, Denver is actually, no, I've already got 25 million in there as a hypothetical. If you put Christian Brown at 25 million and Peyton Watson at 11 million, and you have Jonas Valanciunas on the roster, and you have Zeke Naji on the roster, Denver's $12 million over the super tax, $12 million into the second apron. Now, Jonas Valanciunas is a $10 million team option. I think if you sign Christian Brown and if you try to sign Peyton Watson, you're basically saying goodbye to Jonas Valanciunas, or you are trading somebody else from that starting unit, probably Aaron Gordon. It's tough. Like, I don't think that Denver's going to pay the second apron. I don't think that they're going to do that. And I think that there is a lot of indications behind the scenes that they are unwilling to do so, that they believe it as a hard cap, not a soft cap like it actually is.
I mean, look, the Boston Celtics said the same thing, and they're a team with much deeper pockets.
Yeah.
The Clippers are going to say the same. Like, everybody's going to say the same, which is why I hate the CBA. Okay, I'll be very interested to see what the number is, and I'm not going to really, if they pay him $30 million, I'm not going to be like, oh my God, what are you doing? And if they pay him 25, I'm not going to be like, what a steal. I'm just going to be like, okay, this makes makes sense for both sides. I will say Christian has been so good in preseason that I have zero qualms about whatever number they're going to give him, to the point of just look, you almost have to do a Blackburn and bank on the upside. And if that costs you age, experience, heart, and soul, and everything good in this world, then so be it, because that's how good that Christian Brown has been. Before we get out of here, I will let you, because I will be honest with you, I only pay attention to the parts of the games that I think are important to pay attention to. Do you want to talk about the despicable, heinous performance?
Let's get it right.
By the deep bench in the loss.
No, I actually don't. I don't think it matters at all. I think that Denver basically did the work that they needed to do at the beginning that mattered most. They got out to a 59-46 lead over the OKC starters, and basically their full unit outside of Jalen Williams was a really, really impressive performance from the guys that are going to play. I do think that we can say goodbye to the idea of Deron Holmes being an immediate rotation player. That is not going to happen. It's not his fault. He's coming back from a long-term injury.
He's just not ready.
More time.
He's just not ready, and he might be ready by January 1st.
Yeah,
that happens a lot. Guys have done that, where it's they go to the G League and it's I got better. That just happens.
One guy who we didn't mention is Julian Strawther. Had a really impressive shooting display in this game, and has continued to show, I think, that kind of like the Tim Hardaway aspect of things, you want as many guys who can change a game or change a quarter in as you can possibly get, if you can.
I didn't like the way he played.
Well, the first couple of possessions were bad. I will say that.
You and I are such polar opposites. Where if they shoot well, you're he had a great game.
It wasn't that he shot well. It's
and if a guy shoots really well, I'm almost yeah, who cares? It doesn't matter.
He did a good job of assuming responsibility, which I think a team needs sometimes. And especially with this second unit that the Nuggets are going to play, if Murray's getting double teamed to half court and Valanciunas is having a bad game, it might be Julian Strawther who's best utilized as the guy to kind of take on more responsibility as a scorer. It may not be Tim Hardaway Jr. some nights. It may not be Bruce Brown some nights. It may not be Peyton Watson some nights. It might actually be Julian Strawther. So I think he's probably going to get cut from the rotation, man, but it's tough. You got to find more opportunities to play as many people as possible.
On Sunday night, we will give you our big bowl predictions for the Nuggets season. On Monday, Swipa will do whatever he wants to do, because I don't decide what Swipa does in anything in his life. On Tuesday, Ryan and I will kind of react to the first night of games and talk a little bit about more. Plus, we will preview Thursday night's season opener versus the Golden State Warriors.
Whew.
It's almost here. Hope you guys have enjoyed preseason. We will talk to you on Sunday night at 10 p.m. Mountain here on Locked On Nuggets.
Heinous.